Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It's a Thursday, so coming up today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about the college football games on tap, not only tonight and tomorrow night, but also on Saturday. So let's go ahead and get to it. Tonight we've got North Carolina at Pittsburgh in an ACC Coastal Showdown, and this should be another ACC high-scoring game. If you recall, this past Saturday, North Carolina beat Wake Forest by the score of 58-55. Well, tonight's game might not be that high scoring, but it should be close because everybody thought going into the season that North Carolina's defense was going to be much improved from last year because last year's defense was awful. But if this year's defense is any better, it's not much better because they're still giving up points and yards galore. But we know they have a really good offense, and Pittsburgh has a defense a little better than North Carolina's, but it's still not great. And they have a phenomenal offense as well, so it should be another high-scoring game on tap tonight. In the NFL world tonight, we have the 6-2 Baltimore Ravens going up against the 2-7 Miami Dolphins. Shouldn't be much of a game, especially considering Tua Tagovailoa is hurt again. And I think it's becoming increasingly more and more clear that Tua is going to have a history of health problems. I don't know how long he'll play, but as young as he is, when you're already hurt this much, that's your body pretty much telling you you can't do this. Now, the Dolphins have been trying for a couple of weeks to pick up Deshaun Watson. If that deal doesn't work out, they're going to have to find a quarterback somewhere because relying on Tua is going to be a bad decision. Now, tomorrow night in the world of college football, we have Cincinnati at South Florida. Of course, Cincinnati is now up to number 5 in the playoff poll that came out this past Tuesday night because of Michigan State being number 3 last week and going down. So Cincinnati is now in the top 5. If you want to see the full top 25 in the playoff poll, please feel free to go back and look at it. And unfortunately, Alabama is still number 2, which I'm not surprised about that. Coming up on Saturday, we have some key matchups on the docket in the world of college football. First, at noon, we have number 6, Michigan, going up against Penn State. We'll see if Penn State can pull off the upset in that game. And we also have number 8, Oklahoma, against number 13, Baylor. Now, I think Oklahoma got the shaft because they didn't even play this past Saturday, and they didn't move up in the playoff poll at all. They stayed exactly where they were. All those teams above them either lost or struggled, and they didn't move. They're still number 8. Now, Baylor went into last weekend number 12, and they lost, and they only dropped 1 spot. So Oklahoma has a chance to pick up a key victory over not a top 10 team, but a top 15 team if they can beat Baylor coming up on Saturday. And then we also have Mississippi State at Auburn on the docket for another noon game. Now, Bo Nix has been getting better and better at home, but he still struggles on the road. But Auburn is the home team this Saturday, so he should be fine in that one. And then, of course, we have UConn at Clemson, and I'll bring that game up for 2 reasons. One, as a Clemson fan, in my opinion, every game they play is a big game. But not only that, it is Military Appreciation Day, and Clemson does some great things for the military. And all the Military Appreciation Day stuff will kick off at 6:45 Saturday morning. I know I have a lot of Clemson fans that watch the channel, so hopefully some of them will be out there early Saturday morning at 6:45 to see all the festivities that will be starting to get in before the noon game against UConn. And then at 3:30, we have the number one team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs, going up against the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, it's funny because me and a friend of mine from work were talking the other day about the game, and I told him that Tennessee would score the most points that anybody has scored against Georgia this year. And he made like I said Tennessee was going to win the game. Tennessee's not winning the game. But we've got to think about how good Georgia's defense has been this year. If Tennessee puts up 17 points, that's the most anybody has scored against Georgia this year. The game is not going to be close because Georgia's going to score 40 plus. I was just saying Tennessee will move the football better than anybody else has, but I still think Georgia will win the game by 20 plus points, because if Georgia scores less than 35, I'll be shocked. And then we also have number 19 Purdue going up against Ohio State. Of course, a lot of people now in the college football world are calling Purdue the Purdue spoiler makers because of the fact they beat Iowa and they beat Michigan State. Got another chance for a top 5 upset this Saturday when they play the Ohio State Buckeyes. That would give Purdue 3 wins over top 5 teams, which would be the most wins against top 5 teams than any team in the country. And then we also have Minnesota at Iowa. Of course, we know these two teams are long-standing rivals. They have that big, ugly trophy that they fight for in that game. And then we have Miami at Florida State, and this game is only relevant because those two teams hate each other, and those two teams, just like Minnesota and Iowa, are long-standing rivals. Now, they don't have the ugly trophy that Minnesota and Iowa have, but it's still two teams that absolutely hate each other. And this rivalry used to be one of the most talked about rivalries in the country in the world of college football, and it will be again if these two teams can get back to being relevant. Florida State is heading that way with Mike Norvell. Miami, I don't know if they're heading that direction or not, but Florida State, they definitely are. And then at 4 o'clock, we have Maryland at Michigan State. Michigan State needs to win that game since they just got upset last week. They don't want to lose 2 straight games, and it would ruin their dream season in a matter of 2 weeks. And also at 4 o'clock, we have the Battle of Columbia with the South Carolina Gamecocks from Columbia, South Carolina, going up against the Missouri Tigers from Columbia, Missouri. And I'll go ahead and go out on a limb and say the team from Columbia wins that game. And then at 7 o'clock Saturday night, we have number 11, Texas A&M, going up against number 15, Ole Miss. Of course, we know A&M has a phenomenal defense, but their offense has just been average at best, and Ole Miss's offense seems like it's getting worse as the year progresses. So this should be a low-scoring game. And then at 7:30 Saturday night, we have NC State, who is number 16 in the country, coming in with a record of 7 wins and 2 losses, going up against the 12th ranked team in the country, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, coming in with a record of 8-1 on the season. Of course, NC State has 1 conference loss, and Wake Forest has none, since their loss last week to North Carolina was a non-conference game. So if Wake Forest wins the game and they give NC State their 2nd conference loss, they've all but wrapped up the ACC Atlantic. But if NC State can win the game, then they'll have 1 conference loss, and Wake Forest will have 1 conference loss. And then, of course, Wake Forest plays Clemson next Saturday. So if NC State wins, they'll be in the driver's seat. But if Wake Forest wins, they've all but wrapped up their side of the ACC. And, of course, NC State has a average offense. They don't make a lot of mistakes on offense, and their quarterback, Devin Leary, in my opinion, is one of the most, if not the most, underrated quarterbacks in America. Nobody ever talks about him, but he's good. He's just not flashy. Plus, it's NC State, so he could have 95 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and nobody's going to talk about him. But NC State has a really good defense, and then Wake Forest, we know, has an amazing offense, but no defense at all. So you'll have the great NC State defense going up against the great Wake Forest offense. Should be a great game, and that'll be the 7:30 game on the ACC network coming up on Saturday night. And then in the world of college basketball on Saturday night, we have number 5 Texas Longhorns and the number 1 Gonzaga, or as some call them, Gonzaga Bulldogs. That will definitely be a great game in the world of college basketball coming up on Saturday night. Of course, this past Tuesday night, we had number 10 Kentucky and number 9 Duke. Of course, Duke won that game 79-71. So that game lived up to the billing. Hopefully, Texas and Gonzaga will also live up to the billing. If you have any thoughts on any of these games, please feel free to let me know, whether it's the college football slate for the weekend, or if it's the college basketball game coming up on Saturday night, or if it's the NFL games on tap for tonight. Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My girlfriend borrowed $100 from me. After 3 years, when we separated, she returned exactly $100. I lost interest in that relationship. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.